All right, hey, this is Josh Hicks here, and we're going to be talking about truck driver recruiting and some of the questions that we continue to see through this process. You know, we have been doing this for about 26 years, and we work with all kinds of new entrepreneurs, individuals trying to get into the career of the logistics placement brokering, which is truck driver recruiting. A little bit different in a lot of the models that we teach is going to be around pro athlete to agent. So the truck driver, you know, being the pro athlete, you being the agent. Now, we have trained a lot of recruiters that are inside of companies. We're also going to be talking about that and some of the basic things that we see that are needed. So let's move on here to the next slide. And here's the thing is, entering this thing, there's a lot of different things about the industry that you'll want to know. You can dive right in, and a lot of times companies do take individuals to come in that do not know the business, and they're going to go through some training, and you'll have a time frame to jump into that if you're doing, you know, recruiting internally for a actual trucking company. Okay, so again, a lot of these things we talk about is how to be an entrepreneur, build your own agency, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But these are the questions that we tend to see. We'll go through them here. You want to know information getting into this, no matter where you go. We're going to talk about some resources and things that we're doing here, you know, with Secret Recruiting that's going to show you a lot of those steps. So moving on to the questions here, you know, really what you see a lot of times in companies to get into the recruiting field, they're going to see you're going to have that, you know, maybe high school diploma. I've actually seen some of these companies requiring some kind of college, being in college to even get into this position. It's not always required, but it's something that we see more and more of as we talk to individuals that either have transferred out of being an internal recruiter for one company, jumping out into the entrepreneur side of the things where they can actually get into multiple companies and try a lot of different job opportunities for the driver candidates. So, you know, it really depends on where you go, but we're going to see most of the time at least a high school diploma. The beauty of this is, too, if let's just say that you didn't get that, we're going to have a lot of opportunity for those that are in this, maybe didn't have the opportunity to get a high school diploma, maybe didn't get through that. We've actually worked with individuals. That does not mean that you cannot be a top producer in this business, and that's the beauty of this business, is that it is very personable. It is where you work with drivers to help them get into their next steps of career, and it's just something that's just not required. Now, training is, we're going to talk about some of those resources of how to get training, fast track your way to it here at the end of this. The primary responsibilities really comes down to, you're going to be doing a lot of the pre-screening, so interviewing of the candidate, okay? So once you know you have a job description, you're going to know that job description, and then you're going to put that job description out there. Let's just say you market it out in a place. You're looking for a candidate. Maybe it's a database of drivers that are looking for positions, and you see that match, okay? Then you're going to pre-screen them through a process to make sure that they meet the minimums, okay? So once they meet those minimums, you're going to then go through a process of an application, complete that application. Now, we have to complete, and I won't get too far in the weeds with this, but you have to complete 10 years of their job history. There's several other things there that you would look at and go through. And so that really comes down to kind of how, you know, that company looks for, you know, qualified candidates. So it depends. We always know that we have to get that 10 years no matter what. There may be some other questions that are required, endorsements required, those kind of things. But that all comes down to the minimums that the company sets or that position sets. Okay, so now through that process, once the application is completed, what we're going to start looking for is then the processing of that application. Okay, so they're going to verify. And a lot of times, you know, if you're in a company, let's just say you're a direct recruiter, you might be doing the verifications. You might be going through and setting up the drug test and the, you know, running all the reports that are required. And that really, you know, you're going to see DAC, MVR, usually your background history, those kind of things. You can get into more extensive reports like the PSP reports, several other things that you could do just depending on the company and what they require. Now, if you are a let's just say what's considered as a third party or a staffing side or recruiting agency. So you may be just an individual that's getting into this, learning, creating your own agency as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. Okay, in most cases, you're going to deliver that application. That's where it stops, except for the follow-up process for that driver. Okay, from that point, the company that you send that applicant to, they're going to do all the processing. Now, we, in the follow-up, will continue to make sure that they are getting those steps done all the way up to travel to the showing up of the orientation and then completion until hire. Okay, so that's some of the things there. Again, we can go through these. We've got a lot of material here that we'll have for free. We've got different things that we're going to be doing this year around workshops and things for you individuals that want to get into that. We've got courses that you can get completely certified, and I'll have some links below here that you can join into learning about those next steps if you're that person. We also, like I said, are happy to talk to you if you're a recruiter inside of a trucking company, you're really trying to be a top producer. Those are the kind of things that we are going to be out here working with you recruiters on. Now, how does compensation work? Now, if you're inside of a company, that's going to be a lot of times we'll see salary base, so like a base salary, and then a maybe graduating commission depending on the position. If you're with a company that just has one position or two positions, it may be a little bit of a kickback on a commission based on the volume. This can work in a lot of different ways. What we see traditionally on third party, so if you're out here building your own agency, you're going to have a percentage split with whoever carries contracts. For instance, if you have somebody that's got 40, 50 companies as an agency that manage that, then, you know, a lot of times going through our training, we've got companies, we connect you with those that have many companies that are true partnerships that we have. We know that they take care of the recruiter. It's a good platform for you to scale your agency of having many different companies through this process to do what you just learned through our trainings. That compensation can vary. You know, we see initially in some cases you might start out at a 60-40 split where you get the majority. It could be a 70-30 depending on, and then that can graduate up by your volume to 80-20 and even 90-10, meaning that you keeping the lion's share of the commission. And that's how it works when you're doing this in most cases. Okay, now this may change. Let's just say you didn't have a partnership of the bigger companies that are looking for a lot of volume, and you make that relationship with a smaller company. Those commissions could change. So ideally what you want to see out here, if you're working with the majority of the companies that take the direct to hire, which we would be doing as truck driver recruiters, you're going to see that being in anywhere from a range, in most cases, anywhere from 1,500 on upwards to 15,000 per hire. We ran an average of hundreds of recruiters over the last couple of years, and from the low to the high, we've seen an average across the board to be around 2,500 per hire. So this is very rewarding when you're placing these drivers into the seat. And not to mention that, our average recruiter that goes through our training that is running this full time, they're doing anywhere from 120 to 175 hires per year. Our top producers are doing over 300. So you can do the math here. And there's a lot of things that we can show you. Again, a lot of links below that you can go through, kind of overviews, and understand this in more detail. Okay, so hopefully that answered that question. Let's see if we can get to the next slide here. These are just ones that have been pulled off. We see a lot of these questions coming up. What challenges do truck driver recruiters face? Here's the thing is, the biggest challenge I think over the 20 plus years of doing this, I think that you just never count the money before it's in the bank. You never know the variables that could happen for a driver candidate. You don't know if they're going to pass the driving test or the drug test, or if what they told you on the application is true. So you have to go through that, develop trust, understand by ear that, you can pick up something if somebody's not being totally honest with you. And you got to know that a lot of variables happen out here with truck drivers, so they might not make the first orientation. This is an industry that is like no other industry, that you literally have guys that no-show a couple of times. As long as they have a reason for it, the company usually will take them back no matter what, as long as they've communicated. Okay, so that's a frustrating thing as a recruiter, and so those become frustrating things. Now, here's how you beat that. You don't bank on a few drivers. You put the pipeline, you get your pipeline of drivers going into orientations, set out 1, 2, 3 weeks, and you build that up to a massive amount of drivers that are in it. And that's what we're going to show you. We show you through the courses, we show you through the trainings of how to do that, and it's always a numbers game. So you're not just relying on a very small amount. You really need to get guys in there and just understand things are going to happen. That's the biggest thing, and we find through this training, over 8,000 people have I trained through trainings and courses and different things to be in this field over the last several decades. We see a lot of it is the psychological piece to it of understanding what to expect and not counting that money before it hits the bank and understanding it's a numbers game. Once you know the numbers game, how many you're going to put in before you see how many is going to get hired, then you can really scale your agency with predictability. You can build agents under you and do some pretty crazy things. We can talk about those stories more and some of the proof and things. You'll see in some of my videos, office proof of individuals starting. You'll see testimonials and different things like that. So check that out below. Are there opportunities for advancement in truck driver recruiting? Well, yes. So it's limited in companies, obviously, because it only goes up to a certain level in that field. Let's just say director of recruiting, if it's big enough company. A lot of times we see recruiters doing everything in companies. It's just kind of the way the model works. So in other words, instead of you coming out here and just making those relationship with drivers as inside of a trucking company working for one company, a lot of times you're doing the investigations, you're doing the scheduling, so the application. And then I've even seen a lot of guys wearing hats, individuals wearing multiple hats of even doing orientation. And this is a big task to do all in one. When you're talking about opportunities, a lot of times you might have to wear multiple hats, not necessarily getting paid any more than what you would, wearing just one or two of them. It's just because that's the way small businesses, they have to be until they scale to a point where they can actually justify. Now, a lot of times we think that, if they really looked at the numbers and kind of statistics that we know, splitting those positions up. We've helped many carriers out here realize that they need to put different positions in there so the person that's good at recruiting can be a good recruiter. Either way, the best way to do this is somebody that's outside doing your own recruiting, and the advancement is this. You can scale people under you, which scales numbers. You have your larger commissions. You can simply very easily earn several $100,000s a year. Again, not even having a high school diploma or any kind of college, just having certification and understanding you have support and people teaching you how to do this. And that's what we're out here doing. This is an industry right here that you can really get out here and make something. We've got drivers that are coming out of the seat or trying to get out of the seat by doing this recruiting and making more money than they are driving in a lot of cases. We see this happen all the time. We have had, hundreds and hundreds of drivers do this. We've had individuals, that are just graduating high school, never had a job before. We've got people that are in retirement. Insurance agents, real estate agents that completely sold their agencies as they came over here and really started scaling their own agency. So talk about the opportunity to scale. I don't know another business that you can come out here with very little money and get some training, not have to have any crazy certifications besides, some of the ones we have, but you can really do it without that. It's just going to be harder, without having to pay, having licenses and different things like that. It's just a great industry for that. And we don't see this, we've had the common question of, can this be replaced by AI and those kind of things? Well, we don't see that happening for a long time. It's a personal touch that you have to have when doing this and collecting information from drivers to get them into a new career move. So we see this going on for a long time, and it's gone on. I've been in it over 26 years. It is a business that continues to grow, and that hopefully answers that question. Again, going through some of these, what tools and platforms are commonly used in truck driver recruiting? Here's the thing is you can do this business with a phone. You can do it with internet. I prefer a computer, but I have a lot of people running their business right off the phone. Now, when it gets into, learning what kind of platforms to get, you're going to have to lead generate these driver candidates. And we connect you, especially after you're certified through some of our courses, we connect you with some of the best resources out there to get full access to databases of drivers looking for positions right now. We live in a world right now where if you have some kind of tech understanding, you can come out here and work groups in, driver groups that are in some of these platforms, these social media platforms. We've seen a lot of success there. We're going to show you all those steps. The beauty of it is you can get in here and not have to have any kind of background in tech. You just have to know how to look at an application, match it up for the location, and call that candidate and get them on. These are things we're going to teach you. So we have all different levels. You want to get high up into the tech side of it, we're going to show you how to use AI out here in the platforms that are out here. We're going to show you how to work Facebook, Instagram, any of these platforms that are relevant to drivers. We know where they hang out. We know what they're looking for. And, this is what solidifies this even more, is that a lot of the drivers that we come over here, that's how they found us on this right here. And they said, this is an opportunity I didn't know that was here. And it's because we know where they're at. And they couldn't believe this side of the business. They knew that, recruiters and agents have been making money off placing them, but they did not know how easy it is to get on this other side of it. How important is the industry knowledge in this role? Industry knowledge, I think, listen, we're going to show you, if you go through our process, we're going to show you how to do it with very little. It's about connectivity. It's about understanding and really listening to the candidate and trying to match them with the best opportunity. Now, as you go through this, we're going to teach you that lingo. We're going to teach you that industry knowledge that you'll need, and it always helps to be able to have a conversation around that when you're talking to somebody that understands the industry. All right, what is the typical work environment for a truck driver recruiter? If you're working inside of a company, it's going to be inside of a company. In most cases, they're not doing virtual. It's very hard to start out virtual when you're with a company because they just don't have these, usually in most cases that we've seen, they don't have the training structure. Unless they hire us to go through a training process with their recruiters, in which we have done, you're typically going to see it being very hard to do. They're going to want you in corporate or in office for a period of time at least, a few years, something like that. That is what we've seen. That's the feedback that we've seen across the board. Now, if you're your own boss, you can do it from anywhere. We have people literally from beaches, like using their phone. As long as you have internet and phone, they are doing this business. You know how to talk on the phone, that's what you're doing. It's not required to do video chats or anything of that nature. I think that is something that we teach to be progressive, and it can be good as you have a candidate that you work with and have a relationship with, but it's not required. Traditionally, you will be on the phone, and you can do everything from a phone if you do have internet. So that's kind of it. You don't have to go to job fairs. You don't have to, the industry events. These are things that we talk about that I would do if you could, but you definitely don't want to come out spending a bunch of money on events if you don't have money coming in yet. So we talk about how to start on shoestring budget and move up. Now, that may be something you do with a company. They may send you there. A lot of times you're going to have some experience and really have some volume and things before they actually put you there. They're going to go for top producers. And so, there's a difference there where we are obviously advocates for those that are on the outside building the agency, getting paid more with more flexibility and doing it from anywhere. How can one stay updated with industry trends and regulations? There's all kinds of sites. I mean, with the tech now out here, you can ask ChatGPT for anything you want. You're going to be able to get knowledge and links to places. We've got all kinds of those resources that we would put out here. In fact, we'll probably put some resources out here for you to really look at here somewhere on another video. We'll do something about that. We do see this a lot. Think about that you're really looking at here is this a viable business, evergreen business, something that has no cap? If you're somebody out here looking for, an entrepreneurial, creating your own agency and your own business, absolutely. It's 3.5 million truck drivers in the United States today. There's 1.2 million trucking companies, and it's a 98% turnover rate. You'll see this in many videos. I talk about it. It's absolutely no cap. We can't keep up. We have built probably the most and trained the most recruiters out here for different agencies, different trucking companies, and we just never hit the cap of what the opportunity can be. So you're not going to run into places, these saturated, opportunities out here. You've probably seen videos if you found me. It's just so saturated. It's very hard to compete when you got a few that have made money, and it's very saturated. Everybody's trying it. in this particular thing, it can't be saturated because they're moving. It's just what the industry has done and shown for many, many, many years. Drivers are able to do it. They don't reject drivers for necessarily going to another position as long as they're not burning bridges. So we see a lot of rehires. We can, really coordinate that rehire because we have that relationship. And I don't know if this question is asked in this one, but a lot of people do ask, why do they not just go straight to the trucking companies? Well, the reason is drivers do not want to necessarily go straight to a trucking company. Think about it. They can't tell you if the competitor's better. They're not going to do that. So you need somebody that has, the drivers need somebody that has their back. They know that you get compensated. We share our compensation with drivers. We do all kinds of different things that we teach in this, but they're going to want to know 100%. They're going to want to know if they've got somebody that's got their back through the best opportunity. So when you have multiple positions in their locations, multiple different options, those are the things you can kind of weigh out and say, this is the best one. Whereas if they go straight to a trucking company, of course, they're going to say they're the best, and it's going to be hard to pick. And a lot of drivers make this mistake before we educate them and connect with them. And then when you do connect with them and you get them in a position and they want to go to a better position down the road and you can make that move for them, you're going to see these guys stick around for a long time. I still have drivers today after 20 plus years, contacting, saying, hey, help me make that move to something more. I'm ready to retire. I'm ready to do this. Whatever it may be, you can help them through that process. But what impact does a truck driver recruiter have on the company? So, listen, here's the main thing is the backbone of America is transportation. Okay, you don't have it, nothing happens. And so, we really say the backbone of America is truck drivers, because if you have trucks and you have all the freight and the goods to move, if you don't have a truck driver, you literally have nothing. Okay, so our job is to make that relationship, get them to the best opportunity. That is a very important position when we're working with drivers. And so that's why compensation is so high out here. I mentioned earlier, the commissions are unbelievable out here as an opportunity for you to come into. And, an average person should be, hiring anywhere from, 2 to 6, maybe even 10 hires per week if you're really good. And you can do the math on that if you're making an average. Remember, I said the average of being over 2,500. Might have been a little under 2,500 by the time we did the average, but 2,500 per hire, you can see that is, you can just do the math on the per hire per week, the opportunity that you can get into. So it's very important that the truck driver recruiter is out here to help that truck driver. And, of course, if the truck driver recruiter out here on the outside, they're going to stumble. If we were not here, they're going to stumble into the company, and they're going to have to take, that hoping it's the best. Well, that's our job, to get out here and educate. That's the things we teach you to make that relationship with the driver. Okay, so that is a very important role. It's why it's vital to being out here, and it's why there's no cap to it. It's why we have, thousands of people over the years that have trained into this and still not hit the tip of the iceberg of what can be done and the opportunity out here. In most cases, we don't even see people run into each other a lot because there's just so much out here and so many drivers looking for opportunity. All right, I think that might be the last one here. Let's see what we've got. Yep, that is the last one. I hope this is good information. We're going to continue to give information like this out here. This is a little bit longer video, but we want to go over some questions. We'll put this out there. There'll be links below to connect, either see that overview for some of our training, get on a calendar, meet directly. We've got some other things that if that training doesn't work for you, whatever it is, we've got different deals like workshops and maybe some webinars that you can learn things. We're really open to communicating with you if you're interested in the business. If you're in the business, you want to be a top producer, you can go check out the testimonials in places. We have taken good producers out here, the best at where they were at, and they've doubled, tripled, quadrupled what they've done out here. We have produced, out of the training and the support, the teams that we have in place, the top agents that you're going to find out here. And so it's some of the biggest money and best opportunity. It's something you can get into. So it's great talking to you. I hope to meet you someday if you're looking for this, and we'll see you on the other side.